Topic of discussion. Good day, good afternoon, good evening. Depends on where you are in the spectrum of the globe. But people check in first, and then we'll start this discussion. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's really quite beautiful in Florida. It's chilled out. Literally, it's got a little chilly. We're gonna get into discussion about Trump and his association with the tall whites. I thought this is a relative conversation with all the political upheaval right now. Side is sickers of we've got a herd of immigrants coming right now to the border. I think they're at the border. Now it's going to be, it's like 40,000 Mexicanos joining in the, whatever is being promised or motivated for this herd to be incited. Peace deeply. Peace. So, I think this is a conversation that we're going to have that, first time Rich, you know what's interesting about that? They've talked about the tall whites on a Congress. I'm gonna bring up the video and tag it to this feed, to this live. There's been, and they had a congressional meeting, literally talking about the tall whites and their infiltration in the political system, in the congressional system. So it's interesting that many people didn't really know about them, other than when Rudolph of Germany talked about, well, us in the ET community knew of the tall whites because you hear of them in all different sects. So it'll be interesting to have this conversation about his association. Listen, okay, so let me kick off the conversation. So if you remember when Trump was running for presidency, I remember accidents when it was just at the precipice of him getting the being put on the ballot. I remember hearing rumors behind the scene that he was not part of the draconian or the satanic sect. So it's interesting because you always assume that everyone's from the draconian bloodline, from the Queen Elizabeth's bloodline. The majority of all presidents that we've known, including President Obama, were all included in that bloodline to the Queen Elizabeth's bloodline. Every single one can be linked to that queen. How very vampiric is that? So, it's interesting, and I heard this behind the scenes, so it's like, how could he ever be president? That's why no one really gave any credence and credibility that he would win, because obviously we knew the only person, even in the backline in the ET community, we knew the only person that was connected to that bloodline were the Clintons. So we knew most likely it would be Hillary Clinton if running against Obama. So hold on, So when he got on the ballot, everyone just assumed that he would lose based on the fact that Hillary Clinton was part of the, quote unquote, the Bilderberg group. She was part of that whole snakery. She's the S in the United States. I don't want to disrespect snakes because snakes are absolutely phenomenal. They represent so many beautiful things. The serpent has been demonized by a group. Anyway, so fast forward, we're well into the candidate, him having a candidacy, the running against each other. It's getting really dirty. They're starting to find files on Hillary Clinton. Now, you already know how I feel about Hillary Clinton. I have a problem with her and Clintons and what they're doing diabolically in the Caribbean. Listen, it is a personal vendetta I feel towards them. So this is probably less political as it is personal. I've seen personally what they've done. They've been buying all the land in especially Haiti. They displaced, geoengineered weather was purposefully sent to that island to displace a lot of Haitians, so just like in Avatar, when they wanted the tree and they wanted the precious what was it? What was underneath the tree? Was it iridium? I forgot. It was some sort of you know, something that they desired, right? So they blew up their trees so they could get at them and displace all those beautiful blue avatars, right? It's the same thing with what happened in Haiti. So I have a personal vendetta. They're buying all the land. They're full of ish. You know, anyway, I could get on, I could get on, I could get on the Clintons all day. People automatically think because I don't like the Clintons that I love Trump. That's no, absolutely not. I never say yay Trump. I just appreciate an egregious way into power. Not part. That's what I appreciate. So I don't care if it was Trump. I don't care if it was Humpty Dumpty. I don't care if his name was Goofy. If he old regions, he had little or no ties or wasn't popular. It didn't matter if it's Trump or anybody else. It just happens to be Trump. So before the actual election day, I remember maybe around 2.5 months before, maybe 3 months before, Rudolph of Germany, which you know I speak about often. Obviously, you know he held during event. Rudolph of Germany, I said Humpty Dumpty. Yeah, Humpty Dumpty was what Trump was right now. I'd be praising Humpty Dumpty. I'd be like, yeah, Humpty Dumpty is the bomb.com. So about 2.5, 3 months before, I could be wrong because I'd have to check the archives of the video. I remember Rudolph of Germany talking publicly about how I'm sorry. As soon as I say something nasty, it change. Let me keep it going. So, as soon as he was telepathically going to, they, not just him, they, because the Tall Whites is a big group. There's rogue members of the Tall Whites. They were going to telepathically get in his mind and alter certain aspects of his, I guess his debates or what he would talk about. His decision making, they would alter it so that he had a better prospect of winning. And Rudolph of Germany, I'm talking about, this is a while before President Trump was even, I think it was even before he's actually confirmed. Was it before he was confirmed? Or maybe after he was confirmed as being a candidate running in the presidential election, he said President Trump will win. And when I saw that, because listen, I'm not rocking with Rudolph of Germany. I'm not chilling out with him. We don't have coffee. I'm not, you know, I don't have a tight liaison with him. I just know he is a tall white alien. And I also know that a lot of credence and credibility to the things he said. Remember, tells you that he is a walk-in. He tells you that he utilizes the bloodline of Carl. He utilizes that body to be able to communicate and do what he needs to do on Earth. Okay, so Carl is a real person that is being infiltrated by a tall white alien that is utilizing his bloodline, the people of his bloodline, to be able to, you know, have some influence over what goes on planet Earth. So he said that President Trump was going to win. He said this while before it was going to happen. And I looked at it to myself, he could not possibly be correct. And I thought, and I looked at all angles, and I said to myself, he knows something. So I had to look in the background of where President Trump was from, because I know what bloodline the tall whites come from. I know that. So when generally you look at the tall whites are from Eastern Europe. They only pick tall white people, and when I say white, they're tall European people from a specific Eastern European bloodline. It's a specific. They don't come into others, okay? They have a genetic hybrid group that they've hybridized on Earth for, I think, a couple hundred years now. I think clear over 1,000 years, to my knowledge. And it may be more than that. It may be supersede even that number. Okay, Nordics, yes. But they're not the Draconians. Remember, the Draconians also pick a European group as well. See, this is why I tell everyone, don't put complexions with everyone, because not all ETs, I don't care if you have a brown ET, one hybrid and a hybrid, they may not come from the same species. It's the same with this. This is totally a totally different bloodline. So his family, I was looking into Trump, and Trump's family was Polish. He's first generation, like myself, in the United Snakes of America. So he's from Poland. Also, I think he has some Germanic background. So when I looked into his background, I said, yes, he is truly a proponent and probably of the same bloodline, because for the tall whites to be able to incept his mind, he has to have a genetic receptivity to that. Okay, that's why I say certain people are receptive to certain intel and certain infiltrations by certain ET groups based on their genetics. So he is infiltratable because he is from the bloodline of the tall whites. Okay, and the tall whites have been here a long time. Now, have they been the main influence here? No, they've had influence. They're not a passive group on the planet. Okay, and you know, I consider them to be some ET groups. Parasitic, why I consider that is because they utilize the energy of people's low field frequency, like many of the other vampiric ETs that are coexisting here. Draconians do it by eating, consuming blood and flesh of children, of adults, of contracting low field humans that end up converting to Satanism and Luciferian, and those who worship the Draconian and the Draconian and the Insectilian bloodlines, they worship them. So this is a totally different group. This is not associated with those groups. This is more of an independent, it's almost like an independent contractor. You ever get a contract to build a house? I don't know, I don't know if anyone's built a house. Have you ever built a house? Anybody ever built a house and you get contractors that come from bigger companies? They have they may be a subsidiary of you, but you ever get an independent contractor that's not affiliated with any of the major companies? They do good work, but they have little to no ties to any of the other companies. They do it independently. You contract them personally. They're unique in the system. Okay, this is what the tall whites are. Okay, they aren't associated with any of the satanic and Luciferian. They actually think they're disgusting. They actually have issues with them. And that's what I told y'all when President Trump was voting. The Lucifer were picketing against him. That lets you go. That lets you know. People are like, oh, he's part of the Luciferian. No, he's not. No, he's not. Hollywood. Weird, Satanists, they are all against Trump. Every last one of them. Listen to all the celebrities. Listen to all the newscasters. CNN, Fox News. Everybody is anti-Trump. What does that tell you? If you guys were thinking that Trump was part of the system of the old boys, you are quite confused, because if he was, they'd all be waving the flag for him. They're actually trying to impeach him. Okay, so yeah, the media hates Trump. The Satanists hate Trump. They're doing all kinds of spells and so on. But Trump is protected, and he is under the guise of the tall white aliens who have enough power to keep him safe. And they also had enough power to make sure that he won the election via Russian inception, because the Russians incepted, they hacked the system and gave him the win, because he really didn't win. But, it's what it is. The election, and let me sidebar for a moment, because family, that I tell you that people ask, why do you vote? Yes, I vote. And they say, why? Because it's not real. Absolutely, I know it isn't real. But I told you the reason why you will see me go, like yesterday I went to vote, and I'll tell you what happened. You gotta be careful if you go in there, because it is a slippery slide when you go in the election. When you go to elections, they're doing all kinds of things in there. So the reason why I vote is because there were many people that legitimately could not vote, that were women, indigenous people, and people of color. I do it for point, and I do it for the ones who lost their lives who couldn't. So at the end of the day, do I believe the elections, my vote means no, zero. I know that whoever's supposed to win, they're going to make win regardless. But I do it for the ancestors who lost their lives. I will not let those people have lost their lives in vain. Every woman who was hung as a witch because she wanted to have a say in her society and her environment, she was killed. For every brown person that was denied a proper ability, a possibility in their lives, I vote for them. I vote for every indigenous person who wasn't allowed to make a say in the environment of the colonizers who came here. I vote for them. So I vote for those who lost their lives and placed themselves in harm's way. So, you know, at the end of the day, when people say, why do you vote? I vote because I can. That's the only reason I vote. You know, who wins wins. I don't believe my vote makes any difference. I could close my eyes, literally when I could close my eyes. But they had some interesting things on the ballot yesterday. Like, do you let people, you know, it's important to go in there because you see weird things on the ballot. Because if you don't go in, these people doing all kinds of weird things too. They got all kinds of weird things on the ballot. Start adding on the agenda. It's crazy to go in. So anyway, when I went in, I'm going to sidebar for a moment, but it's associated to the political system, so it's still relative, right? So I went in yesterday to vote, and I really didn't go in to vote yesterday. Actually, I wasn't going in to vote. I actually just went to the library to get my mom some audio books while she's in the hospital. She likes audio books. So I actually just went in. Listen, I just went in to go get my audiobooks, but I saw a line. I was like, because you do early, you know, they do early voting here in Florida because they don't trust anybody. Because Florida is the most dirty state when it comes to electoral votes. They got all kinds of shape-shifting voting systems here. So I went in yesterday, my mom's book, and I noticed there was a line. I was like, you know what? Bump this. Let me stand online and see what's going on, what's going down. You know, I like to be in it to win it. Sagittarius, one thing you will know about us, we will always want to know something. We're a little nosy too. So I went in there, standing online, listening to the conversation, the Matrix people who really feel like their vote matters. Wow, you see the hostility of some of the Republicans. The Republicans are going in there. Listen, I live in a neighborhood of mostly Republicans. You know, anytime somebody has Bilderberg money, they always vote Republican, Brown. That's not true. Celebrities who are, you know, who are more liberal and so on, they're Democratic. That's not true. Artists are Democratic generally. I think the parties, it's crazy that people pick parties because at the end of the day, it's one umbrella and they all break bread together. Democrats, I always tell people, you talk about ISIL and all these crazy groups, they go to the Swiss Alps and they all chill out with each other. Anyway, so I'm on the line listening to all the insidiousness of the conversations, you know, people hiding their early ballots because some people had their paperwork with them. They're all serious. And then I go inside. And then all of a sudden I go inside and I'm like, wait a second, what am I feeling? Don't you listen, family? I'm telling you this because I can. As soon as I went inside the actual, because it wasn't in the hallway, the library. You know how they vote? Like sometimes they use public, places to do your voting. So it could be, you know, the library or somewhere. Sometimes the schools. You know, they utilize public arenas to have their, you know, their vote. You know, where you vote. So I go inside of the voting thing and I get hives. Listen, family, hives all over my back. I was like, what the heck is that? Listen, so, you know, I'm registering that and I'm like, okay, I've got hives on my back. I'm not eating anything. So it's not coming from like something independent. Nobody touched me. I'm getting hives on my back. And then I say to myself, wait a second, let me look around. And I'm looking at the cameras and the ceiling. And I'm like, do they have low elf waves going on in this piece? They had low elf waves. I mean, literally low. Like you could feel pulses going through your body as you walk through the door to go vote. These bastards. So they got this energetic pulse weaponry. I don't know what it is. It's low elf. My body's reacting because obviously, you know, I'm hypersensitive. I'm an empath. I'm also a hybrid. You know, I've got, you know, sensitivity. It was crazy. So I walk in, and then all of a sudden, I started to get a buzzing in my face. Family, they got elf waves. Like waves. I don't know if it's meant to change your mind. I don't know what it is for. Because I don't know what that's for. I can't tell you. I just know what I felt. I don't know if they're trying to put subconscious, they're trying to change your mind subconsciously, coding something like a low field coding, trying to get behind your synapses for people who are really unaware. Like genetically modified people are highly susceptible for infiltration. So whatever was going on at the voting polls, I could feel it. There's some sort of pulse energy wave. Again, I don't know if it's manipulation of the mind. I didn't really care because I didn't really have an ideology who I was voting for. I was just going to vote just for point. I could have voted for Mickey Mouse. I would have, if Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck would have been on the voting poll, I would have voted for them. I'm just keeping it real. If they would have had, they had some good agricultural questions because I live in Florida, so they had some agricultural questions that are, you know, for people who have homesteading and stuff like that. I did appreciate seeing some real things on on the voting thing, you know, to change. Anytime they said, can we keep someone in you know, the chief justice for another 5 years extra? I said no. Anytime they asked for extension of people who have whole positions and political, I said no. I would have added my own characters if I could have. Anyway, let me backtrack. I'm sorry, family. I'm being a little facetious. But all I'm saying is that they had some sort of low pulse wave that I noticed and my body reacted to it. And remember, it's the same library. I go to this library. I'm a library. Remember, I'm a booknista. My mother and grandmother are big avid readers. My little ones, I go to the library often. So I'm there all the time. I would notice a difference in energetic waves. They put a pulse system inside of the room. There's cameras all over the freaking place. It was like being in a war zone. What? Why do we have to go there? You voting? Really? If Donald Duck wanted to have the right to walk around with an outer outfit and be naked with his feathers, I would have voted yes. I'm sorry. Okay. So anyway, so let's go back to Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was being infiltrated. And I don't say it's infiltration because, again, there are certain people on this planet that are purposefully bred, literally bred, to be able to take in aliens. Listen, I will say it to you again. There are people who are purposely bred. Oh, I'll touch on the Soros bomb scare. Okay, yes, Aya, I forgot about that. I'll touch on that. There are people who are purposefully bred to be receptors, to be receivers of hybrid. They're hybrid. Well, they're hybridized. Because whenever someone's genetically homogenized, it almost, depending on who's doing it, it's a form of hybriding, even if it's human to human, making someone, because genetically modified people have a cap on their consciousness, so they always agenda written, and the codes are written in their genomes. So whenever you hear me talk about GMO people, genetically homogenized people, these are people that are bred, that breed amongst each other, and they're coded with caps on their DNA and consciousness. These are people that are probably very easily susceptible of getting into religious sects. You know, they're very influenced by the cues and the hues of the matrix agendas. You know, these are the people that do the same things all the time. They have big Christmas parties. They go to church every Sunday, or mosque or temple. They only, you know, are based in whatever the general consensus of the populace is doing. They stick to that. Those are genetically homogenized. Those people are some people are bred to be a receiver, to be in other entities in their bodies, to be a open vessel for demonics, hybrids, ETs, what have you. All clones are open for entities to, they're basically avatars to allow for another being from another dimension can come inside of them. Okay? Not all clones, now the higher field replicants, because not all people are clones, there are replicants here. Replicants are, get their original thought forms and their soul, their previous encased soul, and it's placed inside of a replicant. That's a whole conversation. I talked about that otherwise. Oh, Donald Trump was born on a lunar eclipse. Thank you, Robert. Wait, Robert says Donald Trump's astrological chart is not normal. He was born on a lunar eclipse. I can't remember. Okay, so he's born on a lunar eclipse. So he's meant to cause upheaval. Also, he's a Gemini. If any of you, big up to the Geminis. Geminis is an air sign. Geminis are wild. You ever mess with a Gemini? Any of you ever date a Gemini? Geminis are those people that you could chill out with. You ever play a game of spades? You chill out and they seem so calm, and then all of a sudden they're about to lose and the devil comes out. And it's vice versa too. You ever play with them, they're really mad, and all of a sudden some clarity comes in their mind and they're sweet as stitches. I mean, they have a wonderful way of flip moding their personalities. I've never seen a sign. I didn't really believe it until I became 20 plus, and I've seen Geminis switch from Dr. Jekyll to Mrs. Hyde in 2.5 seconds. And they're quick thinkers. They're quick thinkers. I agree. You cannot get over on a Gemini. Gemini has you. He's got you written. He's got you coded. He knows everything. They're very, and they're very quick, swift, quick-minded and swift. Okay. They're your best lover and enemy in one package. Big up to the Geminis. Oh, big up to the Scorpios. It's Scorpio season. Big up to all Scorpios. You beautiful, sultry nistas and nistos. Y'all are the most, wow. You Scorpios, you make Sagittarius to seem like we're innocent. I don't really mess with Scorpios like that, because Scorpios, I got some Scorpio. A lot of my other part of my chart is all Scorpio, so I got a lot of Scorpio in my chart. I'm a triple Sag, but I got a lot of Scorpios. Woo. Anyway, I'm sidebarring. I'm going off track. Okay, so President Trump is a Gemini. He is also being under the guise, and he is from the bloodline that makes him a receptor to the tall whites. So people always ask me, how is he the tall white, or is the tall white the aliens? It's one and the same, because you don't really separate the host. The host and the entities in the host, they merge. That's a form of merging. So they're one and the same, unless they're separate. You know what I mean? So the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump is, for the nature of who he genetically is grafted with, a tall white alien. And he is based with the agendas of the tall white aliens. Now, the Andromedans at this point, we have a pack. Well, it's not a pack. It's a slight. We have a slight agreement with the tall whites. And that is also why Rudolph of Germany assisted me during my full-blown experience with the event. He assisted me with that because we have a bit of it's a slight treaty. It's not long-term treaty, but it's a slight treaty saying, like, listen, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. We have a bit of the same agenda, being enemies. Okay, so basically, if we have common enemies, it would be in our common interest to be in a liaison with each other until further notice, until it's time to part ways. And that's basically what it is between the Andromedan sect that I am associated with and the tall white aliens. The tall white aliens have assisted me in more ways than I even denote here on YouTube, because that is not necessarily something for public domain. Okay? Now, who are the tall white aliens, and what are the, now tall white aliens are, again, a type of vampiric parasitic type of ET group. And the only reason why they're more parasitic, anything that requires a host is, I'm always going to call as a vampire or parasite. Anything that requires a host or manipulation of a host to be able to coexist is, in my mind, a parasite. Not all ET groups have to do that. There are ET groups that can hybridize and have the encasement of the original soul essence inside of the being without having an outsider who's foreign to that avatar come in. Okay, so you'll see groups of like Bashar. Bashar is a basic, for those who listen to Bashar is a parasite. That's part of the parasites. That's why I am in zero complacency, or I am in zero agreement with people channeling. I take issue with people who know they are basically allowing themselves to be receptors to infiltrators. And if you are allowing your body to do that, I know that your genetics aren't too wholesome. Anyone who allows beings to come inside of them is not wholesome. Listen to me, because people be like, oh no, she's pure. If she was pure, she would not be infiltratable. Family. Someone who's pure and whole is non-infiltratable. Their soul essence would not allow for beings to come inside of them. Those beings who are allotted to channel, who have very easy for them, those are the beings I'm talking about that are genetically homogenized to allow for others to encase them. Their genetics are questionable, infiltratable. Yeah, that's what Rudolph, Carl is the host of Rudolph of Germany. Yes, that's exactly. I question the genetics. Anytime you have host groups, I question them, because I know they've been hybridized for that reason. And I also know that if they can be infiltrated by one group of ETs, they can be infiltrated by other groups of ETs. So if you are susceptible to that kind of infiltration, I don't necessarily I don't trust you. I don't know what will come in you. Has been engineered to specific you to be an open casket. Anything that likes to go to channel beings to come inside of you. I question because I don't know who will come inside of you later. Am I buffering? I'm sorry. I don't think all light workers, I'm not talking about, now there's a difference between people who are who have energetic codes coming to them. We're not talking about them. There are people who are receptors of energy, who could read energy, who are the light workers, so to speak. The true light workers are people who can actually read the codes. They actually feel the codes. The codes come to them and they're able to decipher them. I'm glitching? Why am I glitching? On my side, it's fine. Okay. Family? Am I better? Okay. I hope I'm okay. I'm fine on this end. I appreciate, sometimes it's buffering. I can't help it. I end. Okay. So, what I was saying is that, and I don't question Bashar, question it, because I noticed that Bashar and quite a few other people who channel always have the same type of weird English, Scottish accent there, like leprechauns. And I question that if they're getting all the same type of language and so on, that it's not the same being utilizing all their body to communicate through. That is light. Anything that is angelic does not require your body to be able to communicate. Many people get communication outside of their bodies. They can hear things. They have clairaudio, clairsentient. They can hear and feel things. Beings that require your body to go inside of your body to communicate, those are parasites. Those aren't light. Those are not higher field beings, not in the way that you think. Nothing that's healthy and healthy for you will take over your avatar. Nothing that is for humanity needs your body to do and talk to you. It can talk to you outside of yourself. It can utilize the safety, because if it's a good entity, if it's a healthy entity, it already has permission to be able to go through your auric field, because it's past your it has the frequency to pass your shield and be able to communicate with you, or you can hear from outside your shield. Your aura is to protect yourself. When you allow for things to incept you, then you're breaking holes. You have vortexes in your auric field, and that means you're susceptible for anything to come. That's just like me having an open door, right? In my auric field, I have an open door. And yes, I may communicate with a being that may not be as negative, but that open door, there are other beings passing by seeing that open door who will use the same door to come in and communicate and pretend like there are other beings. You don't know the difference, because all you are is basically a medium. A medium is something that just allows anything it's something that's what do you call it? Like not mutable. It's something that allows for things to use it. That's a medium. You don't want to be a medium. You want to be able to decipher things and be high and constant enough and have enough higher frequency and vibration to be able to hear outside your safe zone and hear from the beings. Because there are many beings who can communicate with you with the safe guise of having your auric field intact. Anything that's infiltrating on a regular basis, I question you. I don't mess with people like that. I wouldn't let them in my house. I won't let them around my children, not knowingly. I just don't. Okay? They're kind of like, they allow for things like that. But I do appreciate energy readers, people who are clairsentient, clairaudio. I hear things. I don't have to have something come in my body to hear it. Listen, we're homies. Why do you have this? It's like you meet a guy and you like him, right? You meet a sun star, he's handsome, everything like that, but he's cool. Why do I have to have sex with him? It's for me to communicate with him. Why does he have to be inside of me for me to be receptive to what he's saying? You understand? That's the logic that channelers sometimes will have. I don't have to have a wand inside of my Stargate to be able to hear a man. Do you understand? I can hear him from a safe, healthy distance with my boundaries intact, right? That's all. It's just my take. You know, this is something that I know a lot of channelers may differ, and they have a right to their opinion. But my thing is safety first. If we are communicating, then you should be okay communicating with me in my safe distance. And if my auric field and if my aura is basically saying that you're not safe enough to come around me, then I'm not meant to hear you, and you're not meant to come near me, and you're not meant to come even in my safe you can't come in my boundaries. You guys stay outside. The same way you won't see FleurBrun with a welcome mat in front of her house is the same way that I'm not putting a welcome mat. I'm avoiding any welcome mats in my auric field. You aren't welcome unless I invite you. And there's zero invitations of anything coming inside of me. That's why I say, you know, I question people. I know a lot of wonderful receivers of light codes and frequency, and who hear things from a safe distance. I know them. I hear them. They can decipher the spirits talking to them. They have angelic beings contacting them. They're very receptive to that. I know they're telling the truth because you can hear it in the vibration of their truth. You can hear truth vibration. You can discern whether they're speaking from a higher perspective. You can. Aluna is one of them. Aluna is phenomenal at reading as being a telecaster of energy. She's phenomenal. Well, she can read it, she distribute, able to receive it, and she doesn't have to allow herself to be infiltrated to do so. As far as I know, she registers it, she hears it clearly, and actually she's highly empathic. She's, like I said, she's like the meteorologist. She's like a meteorologist of the meteorologist of, you know, energies. That's what people need to set as a goal. And I always say, you don't start off as a full channeler. The beings have to break down your auric field, and then you become more receptive to the message. That's why the message gets much more profound as time goes on. Whoever is channeling through Bashar is channeling through, that man is not, I wouldn't mess with him. I wouldn't let him anywhere near me. I wouldn't let him in my house, because he's an open door. He got an open portal in him, and you let that man in your house, you got demons that wanted to get at you who couldn't get at you. Now they have an open door in him. So they're going to use him as a catalyst to get to you. That's why you don't let people who channel around you like that. Because if they can get to you because you have borders, like the borders of the United States of America, you got healthy borders that are protected. You start hanging with somebody who's got all kinds of open doors and back doors. They're gonna let those beings in, and those beings are gonna mess with you. No, I'm not saying Bashar is a negative person. Please mind what I say. I'm just saying I don't trust channelers like that. His message could be okay. I can't vest out what the being is talking through him. I just noticed that he tends to talk the same way that a lot of people are channeling speak, that same kind of accent and that language. And the fact that he does that, and a lot of people are mimicking the same type of accent, I don't trust it. Doesn't mean his message is negative. I've listened to Bashar. It's not negative. It sounds legitimate. I'm not dissing his message. I think, you know, he is who he is. This is FleurBrun's opinion, and I tell you who I am and what I allow and disallow. And I've learned to do that over time. I wasn't always like that. Remember, I went to a channeling thing years ago. I told you about that. I sat in the middle, and I didn't believe in channelers until I went to this actual. It was up in the mountains in upstate New York. What was it? I forgot where I was. I went, you know, I was first breaking up with my ex. I went to like a channeling thing. I didn't necessarily believe it, but I was really in a very sensitive space where I wanted answers, and I couldn't pull them for myself. So I went, and it was real. I told you, the vibration in the room changed. It was a woman. She just flew in from Australia. She was a channeler. I forgot her name. She was great. The energy in the room, the kinetic energy, and it was swaying me back and forth on the floor like this. That's how strong the energy was. And what she said, I think I still have it on tape on my computer. What she said was real and valid. She spoke to me, and nobody in the room knew my business. I was new. Nobody knew me. I just stepped in from out of the blue, and she knew exactly. So I'm not saying it's not relative what they're sharing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't trust people like that, even though they may have a being that maybe it doesn't have as much, you know, negative, you know, vibration, but they have an open door to that type of infiltration. I have a problem with people who get infiltrated easily, but maybe that's just my New York paranoia. Okay, so we're gonna go in Soros bomb threat. Now, Soros, I'm sorry, I'm going back. I'm sorry, we're going in channeling. Big up to all the channelers. I'm not disrespecting you. Let me state this. I want to apologize if you feel as a channeler I'm disrespecting you. I'm not. This is my personal opinion. Everybody has an entitlement to feeling how they feel. I feel like this as someone who has seen quite a bit. I feel this from a certain perspective. I'm very protective of my space. I have little ones that I'm very protective from. So you have to look from the perspective of me as a mother, as me as someone who is very disciplined in the things that I allow, even in my body, whether it's in my mouth or even in between my yoni space. You know, I was married for many years. So just like I wouldn't allow any kind of wand to go between my legs, I wouldn't let any type of food to go in my mouth. I don't let anybody just be in my personal space. I would be very, very cautious with other channeling. So that's my perspective. So I just wanted to, any channels, I'm not disrespecting you. This is my perspective. Okay, that's all. you know, because a lot of times channelers may take it, don't take it personally. It's me. People feel differently. I know people go to channelers every day. I do. All right. So, Soros getting bomb threat. He would get a bomb threat because he is associated. Now, I personally think that if I had to call it, because he's considered to be the, is it pixelated? Sorry, hold on. Dyslexia here. I guess I don't know what channel means. What was I talking about? Okay, so Soros. Now, remember, Soros, he is associated. Now, many people feel he's associated with many of the groups, like Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They believe he's funding. I personally think that Soros is a governmental agent that is, okay, independent. Let me say this, okay? Let me back up. I personally think he is a rogue. Let me change my words. He is a rogue governmental agent that has funding. I have to choose my words very wisely because it's what I think I know. When I say think, it's because I don't really know it for sure. I think he is a rogue governmental agent that is funded by other rogue independent aliens that have an agenda, and they utilize him as their catalyst to do so. He is the front man to many different agendas, and I don't think it's just one person who pays him. I think it's many other rogue entities, agencies that pay him to be the front man of a lot of these businesses, a lot of these covert, type of, like Antifa or, Black Lives Matter, yada, yada, yada. He's the front man, but I think he's being paid by many different entities who have many different agendas. I don't think it's just one. So them sending him a bomb threat should not be shocking. And the fact of the matter is, if they were going to kill him, they would have done it. That was more of a warning, because for a lot of the different groups that he messes with, or people that feel he's a threat, they would have already taken him out. He wouldn't get that was more so. And I think personally, if you want to hear my opinion, this is my opinion. I could be wrong. This is what I say. This is my opinion. I personally think it's kind of like firefighters who go privately and go start a fire and then go try to fight the fire. This is my opinion. And like I said, I could be wrong with this, but I personally think that he might have sent the bomb to himself to get beefed up security because he knew it was about to pop off. So in order to do that, he had to stage like he was being, like somebody was coming to kill him, like he was someone was trying to assassinate him. And then now all of a sudden he's got beefed up security. He's got governmental agents watching him now. It gave them a reason to protect him more because he was already insecure. That I personally think it was that. When I heard it, my first thought, I listened to my first mind said he set that up so that he could have beefed up security because he knows people who would really take him out. Because if they were going to take him out, they would have taken him out. They do it all the time, and it would be hush hush, and he'd be cloned and replaced, and you would not know about it. So I personally don't think it was real. I think he did it. I think he did it to himself to beef up security because it's about to be on and popping with all of this incitement coming with the political environment right now in the United States of America. I mean, you could give me your opinion. I don't think he's going to be gone. Like a front man. People like front people. People like people to take, like everybody's worried about the Rothschilds. It is not the Rothschilds who's doing all the diabolicalness. All the 13 families of the 13 bloodlines of the Draconian, they are not any names that you know. These are people who have the greatest amount of anonymity because they have front people like Rockefellers and the Bilderbergs who take on the stage personas of the villains. Those are the stage the villains personas. Those are not the real. When I meet people and I'm not saying I meet all the wealthiest people, but I'm from certain backgrounds and bloodlines who are wealthy, wealthy beyond your measure, anyone's measure of wealth. And they don't have the last names of Rockefeller and Bilderbergs. You would be shocked to see how much anonymity these beings have. So that's what I'm saying. We've got Soros out there. The fact that you know his name should take away the credence and credibility of who he and how much power he really has. It's not him. He is being funded not by one group, but by many, and they are ET groups to my knowledge. So personally, I still think that if he was being, somebody was going to try to kill him, they would have done it. It wouldn't have been so publicized. It's not so hard to get somebody when you have technology beyond comprehension. He's not part of like a hidden group. He's part of a society where they got technology beyond technology. If they wanted to get him, they would have got him, and you would have never known. He would have been replaced, and he would have still been there. That was for public. View, so that he can get beefed up security, because he wants to be more protected, because ish is about to pop off right now, and there are a lot of beings right now who are going to be held accountable. Remember, the day that we got that presidential alert system, somebody was showing the inside of the Pentagon, where people's name tags were being taken off the doors, and people were being held for arrest. You know how many people are being arrested right now in the governmental agency that you hear nothing about? There are people being held right now by a rogue governmental agency that is here to set a balance of the ties of all the inception and all the tyranny that has been going on under the draconian system for eons now. Yeah, there were empty offices. There were videos that were taken down. So the day that we got the presidential alerts, there was a whole lot of things going on in the Pentagon that are being hidden. So yeah, Soros, that was, I think it was smoke and mirrors. That's my personal opinion. I don't think it was what it was. I think it's like I said, like firemen who like to set fires and then go fight them and act like they're the hero, kind of like that. That's my opinion. Chemtrails are a couple par. Chemtrails service a lot of different things. Chemtrails are not just for spraying in the sky and poisoning people. That's just the extra. That's the icing on the cake for them. The chemtrails is to uphold the simulation in the sky, because it has a host of metals that allow for the kinetic field in the ionosphere to hold holograms better. So though you think the chemtrails are just to poison us, no, family, they are meant to uphold the hologram that's above you. We might have more motherships above us than we even know. We would never even know, because we've got a holographic sky. You don't even know what's in the sky. That sun simulator's up there now. Oh, big up to the Sea Star. Listen, sent me pictures of the moon when you shade it, like when you do this like kind of overlay. Family, the dark side of the moon has been taken out. It has literally been taken out. So whoever said, I don't know why, I know why the video will never show up for the moon. The moon is not, it is broken apart. She showed me the pictures of like, it's almost like showing a negative, positive type of reflective type of imagery of the moon. She did a good job. Big up to the Sea Stars sending me pictures of the moon. You guys are amazing. I've seen the moon. I can confirm, me personally, I can confirm that the moon is not it's there, but it's broken apart. That's why the Chinese are trying to replace it quickly, because they already know things about to pop off. You saw a dragon in the sky? It's dragon season. Dragon in the clouds? The dragons are here. Yep, the dark side of the moon is where they recycle the soul. That's why the Chinese are trying their hardest to replace it as quickly as possible. Because it's fake. It's fake. It's a satellite. It was towed here to control the feminine aspect on the planet. It controls the tides. That's why you're seeing a lot of animals, especially women. Women, sea stars, a lot of the sea stars, like I said, the menses is, the women's cycles are off. Talk to the women. You're going to see women are having, I know some women, I love you, sun. Let me leave my sun stars alone. I love you, sun stars. I do feel sorry for the men on this planet right now. I do, because that moon is down. Men are gonna catch hell. I'm gonna try to keep sweet. I'm gonna try to be balanced, but men are gonna catch hell because that of women, and it was meant to suppress women. Women are. It might be Wakis. It might be Wakanda. Wakanda's coming online. You know how the Wakanda warriors? It was Wakanda warriors were women, shave heads. I'm just saying, men, sun stars, tread lightly. Just tread lightly. That's all I'm saying. Everybody's cycle. Look at all the ladies on here. All the sea stars. Look at all the sea stars. All your cycles are off. It's the moon. The moon. We didn't have. Okay, that's another thing. No. Go. I had to tell the bee to go. I smell like a flower. I had to tell the sea. Remember? Oh no. Remember back, well, some of you, your ancestries, depending if you were a colonized bloodline or not, some of you have not been here since the beginning. I was indigenous I am human, and I was indigenous to this planet. And some of us, our codons, remember a time where we did not have a menses cycle. The menses cycle came with the earth. The menses cycle is meant to clear us. It's not a negative thing. People think it's negative. It's only negative because of why we have to do it. It's a clearing. Days when somebody got sick, they used to bleed them out. Listen to me, family, because this is something that the old midwives will tell you, and the doulas. Back in the days when someone got really sick, what did? They cut them, or they bleed them out, or they put leeches all over them to clear the blood, right? It's kind of like getting a dialysis, okay? Women started to bleed because of the pain and the tyranny that they were undergoing. Menses is clearing. That's why for all these people, can I get a little, I know this is daytime. I got to watch how I talk. Don't let the little ones listen to this part, because I don't want little ones hearing this. I'm going to teach you something. For all these women who like to put, who consider themselves witches, this blood in their food or what have you. That's why men stopped letting women cook. That's why most chefs are men, because they didn't trust women. You're putting the menses blood is clearing. It's detoxifying you. It's clearing you of everything. So having a menses is not negative, but why we have, shedding of the uterus. Why we have menses is not, it is necessary because of everything that's happened. That's all it is. But it's not, that's why they consider it negative. That's all I'm saying. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. We didn't have that before because we weren't living under trauma of the patriarchy. When the moon came and changed us biologically, and they homogenized us and split us from ourselves, because we used to be Elle Summers, behave yourself. I'm sorry. Elle Summers, behave yourself. Okay. When we used to be androgynous. Okay. When we used to be androgynous, we were both sexes in one. We were females. It was all female. An androgynous is a female. Okay. For no uncertain terms, people think it's a male female. No, it's really a female that has the ability to replicate herself through the process of parthenogenesis. The original beings on this planet were all females. They were all brown females on this planet. Listen, family, it's the truth. You can look it up. Look at the bones. Eve, you talk about Eve, Sophia, those were all the original females. There were brown females on the entire planet. That's why Eskimos are brown. That's why the Asians were brown. They were all brown females existing on the planet. Big warrior type females that did not have males. They just did not. Okay? When aliens came here, they messed with the genetics of the original beings here, and then they grafted they separated that one being into two, It caused trauma and it caused her to bleed. They also towed in the moon to be able to control her ebb and flow because women are mostly water. It was meant to keep us, it's almost like geoengineering weather. It's geoengineering a body because you needed to, in order to control and create a female that was able to reproduce, to bring in a moon that controlled her waterways. It's all, yeah, the Anunnaki had a lot to do with that too. There were others who did that, but Anunnakis were heightened in genetics. Okay? The original beings were O positive. Okay? Everybody after that original type of female and then male are all homogenized. Everybody's been homogenized from that point, including all of us have been homogenized. Okay, so menses, no sex during menses is not what you think it is. It is only negative because the fact that we have to bleed to clear ourselves is a denotion of how sick the world is. Because women who are not getting as much toxins in their body, women who are not eating a lot of garbage, will notice that they don't have a long menses. The more garbage you eat in your body, the more clearing your womb will have to do. So if you eat a lot of junk and hey, how you doing? I will. The more toxins that you consume in your body is the more clearing you have to do. So women who tend to be more vegan or vegetarian, the only reason they get less of a menses, 2 to 3 days menses, is because their bodies are not clearing as much. Okay, but if they go through trauma or emotional trauma and stuff, they'll bleed more. But you know, you can look that up. You know, this is a whole, and I'm being botchy because there's so much more. But you know, a lot of times you only have it 2 days. That's good, clear vibrations. And your name denotes it. Listen to your name, clear vibrations. You only get a menses. You don't require it. It's when we're not well is when we bleed more. Okay. But now that the moon is decimated, that's why all of our cycles change. Everybody's cycle, and people had miscarriages. There were more women that had miscarriages in first term than I've ever heard in my life. You know, I talked to more women. There were so many women that were pregnant just now who were in first term who miscarried during the decimation of the moon. It changed everything. So with that decimation of the moon, it's going to cause for women's cycle to change. It might, I don't know if it's going to disappear, because remember, I don't know how this is going to translate, but in the dynamics we have with men, it's going to change how we feel about them. I'm just letting you know, because I'm already seeing it. So just be mindful. I say, sea stars, be kind to our males. We still require them to mate. They are still purposeful. You know, just be kind to our sun stars. Yeah, I just, you know, that's all I'm saying. So I just wanted to bring up the moon, the dark side of the moon. So sea stars, big ups to the sea star that sent me those pictures. That's amazing to see. So that did happen to the moon. So again, it's going to transfer. It's helping us, but that's why they're so quickly. I hope they disallow Asia from putting up that moon. I say if they're going to try to put up another moon, that moon should be shot down too. Hopefully it will be dismantled before it's even put up in the sky. How dare you put something in the sky without our permission? How do they get away with putting stuff in the sky and don't ask our permission? No, you can't put up a moon up in the sky, China. We don't want another moon. We're good. You just want to suppress the female aspect on the planet. Now, men, how is this going to translate to you? Because a lot of sun stars are like, okay, FleurBrun, you talk about women all the time. What about us? What it will do for you men is you will be less suppressive to the female element. You'll be in more respect. You will feel more connected to the feminine aspect, because now the division is gone. That's what the moon did. So now you feel less of the division. You might actually fall in love more than you did before. You might actually feel more kinship with a female than you were allotted before. So you might see men, even men that are seemingly gay, feel in kinship with women more. So I would think that might translate in that way. You might see men. Now might be men that go into shock mode and end up being absolutely more tyranny based because they lose their minds. They may lose their minds because if you come from a couple generations of patriarchy that's been really in disharmony with the feminine, you might actually lose your mind because subconsciously that's happening. It could cause you to do mass shootings of females, start doing more pillaging and raping. So be careful of that aspect too. I think it's going to be two aspects with the males. I think we're going to get males that fall more deeply in love. Wait, I've even seen more female boxing this year than ever. Not that women. Ooh, interesting. L. Summers, that's interesting. Going up, because if we're going back to ourselves now, remember I told you I'm seeing females now. It was in Kenya, it was in Indonesia, and I think now in France. Was it France? In Europe, somewhere in Europe. There were 3 women, and I think there might be more that are going through that have supposedly, because I can't confirm, but supposedly they gave birth, they replicated themselves. Meaning they got pregnant through the process of parthenogenesis. 3 cases that have happened so far. This might be spiked. So all our females or our sea stars, if you're not having sexual engagements with a male and you get pregnant, that could happen. So be mindful. Yes, our full moon is today, and family, I will tell you, I feel phenomenal. Normally with the full moon, FleurBrun is not a fan of the full moon. So usually I'm really sensitive or hostile. I get a little hostile, feisty during the moon, I get a little savage during the moon. Moon has never been my friend, but I feel really great right now. And if you're already pregnant, you might be fine. I just know during their first, when I say first trimester, I'm talking about they're about 4 to 8 weeks. I heard she was 10 weeks and they miscarried, and it was odd. So I just take, if you're past that trimester, you should be fine. Usually first trimester is a time when you have, it's a time when the babies, when the replication process, when the cells are perpetually replicating itself, you get a little nauseous, you have the least amount of energy, you feel taxed. That's when the implantation happens. It's the time that it requires you to be in a healthy homeostasis. Any trauma to your outer body or energetic wise could cause that implantation to be ruptured. That's all. So I'm seeing that. And Tauruses, yeah, I'm with the Taurus. I'm with the Taurus. Wow. Yeah, is it affecting him? Tauruses is hard to read. They're so earthbound. Tauruses are kind of calm. Tauruses, the only time you see Tauruses get up in at least my Taurus. Only time I see my Taurus get up on a breakup, when it gets broke up, is the something's about to go down. Like he's one of those, he will take down anyone for his family, like for who, and his woman. Yeah, he's wild like that. But he's calm. Like people are nervous because this looks like so calm that they know just to leave him. Taurus a bit more emotionally if they have any shadows. So for the Tauruses, just make sure you are taking care of yourself. Make sure that you are not being emotionally invoked or provoked right now. Make sure that if you have anything family wise, because usually with Tauruses, things that turn them make them trigger them are family issues, and anything has to do with their their comfort and wealth. They like opulence, they like things, they like pretty things, they like nice things, they like to dress nicely, flashy. So anything that challenges them, their home or their family, would cause a Taurus to be triggered. So just be mindful, Taurus, that this is the moon will cause some sort of maybe an emotional purge. I appreciate Tauruses. Tauruses, you rock. I've never, before this, I all my handlers are Cancers. I always had Cancers. My husband was a Cancer. All the men who would fall in love with me are Cancers. Cancers were my handlers. Any cancer that I deal with is a handler to me. There are certain signs that are handlers. So for a particular person. So all cancers in my life are handlers. So I have to make sure. I appreciate you, cancers, but I'm just saying in my personal life, I just keep cancers at bay now, even though we get along. You know, I have appreciation for cancers, but I have to keep them at distance, especially the men. Cancer men adore me, and they will go to the rooftops to try to get my attention, but I got to keep them at bay. um let me go back to Trump and his ties to the tall whites. Now, the tall whites have, people would say, do they have advantage right now? I think they have no more advantage than they had previously. I don't think that's really their motivation. I think they have control of the president. They have a certain amount of say in things. Now, he's making it very cushy for whites right now. Will do well as far as he's setting up she in there on arenas. Now, Trump, I personally think with all of this upheaval for the midterm, they're going to try to take him out of office. I really feel like that. But I also know that the tall whites have beefed up alien and android technology. Oh, big up to I'm gonna talk about that on Patreon. I think I'll talk about that. We'll talk about androids. But he has technological beefed up security, technologically sound, is protecting. He has seers also, because remember, Trump has been a part of the celebrity world. He also has seers who preempt any attempt on his life. So from my knowledge, the tall whites are taking very good care and very pristine care to make sure that the president that is one of theirs is taken care of and protected. Now, the tall whites agenda is to make sure that they are, because we're in a new cycle, and that's also why they're trying to be very close in the Andromedans. It's because they want to make sure, because they know home court advantage is going to the divine feminine. So because we're in home court advantage, the tall whites are trying to make nice with the groups that they know will have more say. So it's not without motivation that they would be assisting with those who are associated with the groups that will be in home court advantage. Okay? That's just what it is. Now, how will this translate with the election? Like I said, I personally, yesterday we had an aha moment together. Our aha moment was when I realized that a group, that herd that is hitting the border in Mexico, that is probably going to be over 100,000 people at some point, that being over to the United Snakes of America, that is being purposely engineered to allow for a call of martial law that will not just sit in the West Coast. It will over into the East Coast, because they are going to do. My thing is, as they're doing this, I think they're going to do some weather wars on the East Coast. They're going to cause all kinds of upheaval so that they can make secret legislative laws behind closed doors to further keep people restricted, because the pole shift is coming. They're setting up shop, and we're going to have a war at the end of this. So one thing I know is that there's going to be a religious war, and Rudolph of Germany called that out, and I personally think he's correct. There's going to be a really bad World War III that's kicked off from all of this happening. And what will be the straw that broke the camel's back will be the collapsing of the financial system. Because I heard last night when I went into Starbucks today, they told me last night that someone in South Carolina won $1 billion. Once I heard about $1 billion lottery, once I heard about that, I knew the collapse was right around the corner. You've never heard a lottery give away $1 billion. That means our money is garbage. That means for them to give $1 billion lottery, that basically means we had the collapse already. We just haven't seen it yet, because that made absolutely no sense. That means that for them to do that, that $1 billion is printed out money that has no value, and they already printed it out so that they could get all the rest of the money, because people were buying lottery tickets. People who don't buy lottery tickets were buying like $1,000 lottery tickets, $100. They made over $1 billion just with that alone, with all the people spending money on gambling. And they have no realization. Lottery winners are chosen. They don't win. They're chosen. Okay? How are they chosen? There's all different degrees of chosen people. There are people on, karmically, there are people who make that agreement to have that amount of wealth. There are certain rogue ET groups who have certain people who they need to have, that's why I say channeling. People who are receptors to certain ET groups or certain groups of spirits end up having the necessity to have a bulk of money. So they utilize these forms of, bringing wealth to someone quickly so that they can be comfortable when they get in the body. They don't want to come in an avatar and be poor and deprived. If they come into a body, they want to come in and they want to be cushy and comfortable. So they make it so there's a whole lot of reasons. The lottery's not by chance. There's no such thing as a lottery. They're chosen. Okay, so whoever won that money, if you were really clever, you'd look up the gematria. You probably find out that they're part of some group. That's probably what you would do. You probably find out that they could be a Mason. They could be a tall white. They could be anything. You find out. I bet you any amount of money. You find out that person, look into their background, you're gonna find some really interesting things about them and their family. Okay, so I'm just saying, everybody was playing. I don't play lotto like that. My mother loves to do stuff like that when she's in the hospital. So I'd appease her if she wanted to do that. But people are spending all their money, their checks and everything. Whenever you do things like that, you limit your abundance. When you put your abundance in other people's hands, when you gamble your in the presumption or in the hope of getting something back, that's negative karma. You should never give and expect an expectation back. So when you give, see, it's all catchy. That's how they catch you. Yeah, lotteries are chosen. I'm not saying, I had another person who said you got to be in it to win it. I've been to casinos. I've seen the craziness on people's faces when they're at that machine and they can't stop playing because the addiction is really, they're like, every time they hear a ding on the machine, like, and your President Trump is also, he has all the biggest casinos. You got a president that has casinos. If you look at the Back to the Future, when he goes in the future and he changes something and he comes back and the head of the town, who's like, he looks a little like, and the town is all downtrodden and there's a casino around. That's a good show to watch to see what's happening with the Trump administration. And like I said, Trump is safe because he's under the protection of the tall white aliens. Also, he has Android beefed up security around him. He's got seers who can see what you're about to think and do. You're doing it. He's safe. As far as him being impeached, I personally don't think that's gonna happen. But I think there's gonna be a kicked off war, and I don't know what's going to take this take. Because he made decisions, cushy for him, tax-wise, and for his children. He might just say, you know what? Peace. I'm fired. And go and live his life somewhere in some obscurity. He likes to tweet a lot, twat a lot, twat a lot. He likes to do that, so maybe he'll still tweet every once in a while. But yeah, I don't see him being impeached because he's under too much security. He's got too much support, and the tall whites are pretty astute with keeping him okay. Do share in your comments. I do appreciate if you share comments. I always have my own formulated conscious state of what I think I know and things that I do know. And I this appreciate, and I've always said this, is that President Trump is doing what 10 generations of presidents could not do. The only president I think that could have done it was John F. K. But once John F. K. was pseudo-assassinated, I think at that point, every president after that would have been complicit in whatever the agenda was. He's the only one who hasn't been complicit, and he talks about fake news. He talks about fake weather. He talks about the lack of truth in everything that is being promoted to us publicly. I could appreciate someone who does that, as someone who's a truther. I could see someone, and it doesn't, and the fact of the matter is, I could appreciate that President Trump is so wealthy that there isn't anyone who can really, touch him as far as motivate him to do anything, because he already has a good amount of wealth. So he can't even really be bought out, which I appreciate. So, be it what it is, yeah, because women will say he's a misogynist. Yes, he is. He does have male forward brides. Yes. I feel for his, because I think there may be some issues there, but many marriages have issues. So I don't think that's independent to them as a president wife. I think, this is his third wife, third wife. So just a man who has that many wives and doesn't necessarily get it right. Yeah, that goes with the territory. So I don't want to associate that with him being president. He has a lack of respect for the female component. That's just what it is. But I think a lot of presidents did. They may have just hidden it well. The difference is President Trump, you see what he is, and he tells you who he is, and he's unapologetic about it. So there's appreciation on my part for that. And like I said, if you would have had a president like President Clinton, you would have thought everything's okay. She would have made everything look pretty with her witch's wand, but everything would have been dirty all behind the scenes. So you wanted an illusion with the Clintons that everything was okay, but meanwhile the country's falling apart. But you're mad that your President Trump is telling you that the country is apart. You're mad at him for telling you the truth and not putting a wand to try to cover it up. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Let him do what he does. Let him keep blowing whistles. He is the Trump card, so the twin towers are falling down in the Illuminati cards. He's the Trump card, meaning he's gonna make some decisions, executive decisions that many will do. And he has a language. He's able to speak the language of the people in the White House and in the House of Representatives, because they all want to be on his side, because they want to get a check at the end of the day when all the gig is up. That's all I'm saying. And President Trump, if you were listening to this feed, what I would say to you is, instead of listening to someone like Kanye West, who's apparently lost his mind, I say you sit down with us mommies, mothers, grandmothers, and instead of trying to make America great again, I'm going to make a point to start my own little revolution of making mothers great again. Why don't we do that, President Trump? Make mothers great again. Make it so that a mother, when she has a child, has as much time needed to stay home with her baby to create happy, well-adjusted, successful children. Why don't you make it so that mothers, before their mothers, go to seminars where they sit with other masterful, beautiful elder women who are knowledgeable and who have a healthy sense of purpose? Sit down with them and give them great advice so that they make good, healthy decisions. Why don't you make it so everyone knows their blood type, so we're not raising imbalanced genetic children and people? Why don't you allow for men to have themselves parenting preparation so that they know what is necessary to be a healthy and cohesive father? That we can make some strong males on this planet so they can protect the community, so we don't need cops in our arenas. Why don't we make mothers great again? President Trump? Why don't you listen to this video and just take heed? Talk to us mothers. I bet you can get a better perspective of what is required to make a healthier country than to listen to a clownery who's only concerned about selling his Wheezies online and is sleeping with an insectilian queen who has a whole vortex between her legs. President Trump. Anyway, family, I'm out. If you can even see my video. Anyway, family, I appreciate you listening to, again, my video. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Mexico over the next day or two. And again, stay vigilant, stay aware, and stay kind. All right? So I love you. Peace. Make women great again.